All right. Good morning, everyone. This week's portion is VaYeishev, and we're on page 226 in the Eitz Chaim. Just one second here. Somebody else is coming in. And Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Again, 226 in the Eitz Chaim, the start of chapter 37 of the book of Genesis. As I say every year, from this point to the end of the book of Genesis, these 13 chapters form essentially one literary unit, and essentially a story of Joseph. And what I wanted to do is see if we can read through the first four aliyot, and then hopefully we'll have time. I want to share the midrash on this, just to give us a taste of what midrash does with a story. So I'll hopefully be reading from this collection known as The Legends of the Jews by H.L. Ginsberg. This is a collection, and it says on the front page, by the way, The Legends of the Jews by Louis Ginsberg, translated from the German manuscript by Henrietta Zold. So some people might be familiar with Henrietta Zold as the founder of Hadassah, but she also was a student at the Jewish Theological Seminary, was a teacher's assistant for Louis Ginsberg. And if they had let women into rabbinical school at that time, she would have certainly become a rabbi. But anyway, The Legends of the Jews is 6 volumes of collecting all midrash from there's Genesis Rabbah and other collections of midrash that we have, going through them all and arranging in order according to the books of the Bible, all of the midrash. So you have one long story that is a lot longer and has more details than the story that's in the Torah and in the Bible itself. So I'll just read from it, just to give us a sense of what midrash does and how it operates. So we're on 226 in the Eitz Chaim. VaYeishev Yaakov be'eretz megurei aviv be'eretz Canaan. And Jacob settled or dwelled in the land of his father's dwelling place, in the land of Canaan. His father's plural. In his, Eile toldot Yaakov, Yosef ben Sheva Esrei Shana, Haya ro'eh et Echav batzon, Vehu na'ar et b'nei Vilha ve'et b'nei Zilpa neshei aviv, Vayave Yosef et dibatam ra'ah el avihem. Joseph was 17 years old. This is the history of Jacob, or this is the line of Jacob. Joseph was 17 years old, would shepherd with his brothers the flock, or the flocks, and he's younger. Well, it says here he was a helper. He was a helper to the sons of Bilhah and the sons of Zilpah, the wives of his father. And Joseph would tattletale to their father. To their father. So he would, so in other words, these are not Leah's children. And it's not his younger brother Benjamin, who is Rachel's other child. So it's not, he's not working with Judah, Reuben, Shimon, Levi, and Judah. We'd have to look back at the genealogical list. He's working with the sons of Bilhah and Zilpah, who were the two handmaids of one of Leah, one of Rachel. Okay, so this raises questions which the text doesn't answer. Why? Why was he working for them? Why was he working for anybody? Why wasn't he just among the shepherds? Why was he put to the task of being a helper? How is 17 years old not old enough to do this on his own? Okay, so just questions that we should rightly ask about this. But the idea that he is tattletaling about them or bringing bad reports to their father, it does not bode well for his relationship with his brothers. Okay, what kind of bad things is he saying about them? What kind of bad things can you do when you're a shepherd? Do you do you fall asleep while the sheep are grazing and not pay attention to wild animals or to snakes or other things that could go wrong with the sheep? Maybe sheep get hurt. Maybe sheep get killed. Sheep and goats get killed by these animals. Who knows? We don't know. 3. VaYisrael ahav et Yosef mikol banav, ki ven zkunim hulo, v'yasalo ketonet basim. And Israel, now you see he's Jacob in verse 1, he's Israel in verse 3. Why? We don't know. Israel loved Joseph from all his sons. Why are Bilhah and Zilpah called wives? Weren't they concubines, a status less than Rachel and Leah? Yes, they were actually not concubines, they were handmaids of Rachel and Leah. But the fact that the handmaids were given by Rachel and Leah to Jacob for the purpose of procreating, the Torah understands them then becoming wives. Okay, so the status then that the slave, the servant, can become technically and legally a wife. Okay, so Israel loved Joseph from all his sons because he was a child of his old age. And he made for him a cloak, a striped cloak. Now, it's translated here as ornamented tunic. Pasim in modern Hebrew is stripes. And ketonet, in the book of Exodus, we're told when the vestments for the priests are made, ketonet is one of the garments. So it's translated as a tunic, and so above the line here on 227, an ornamented tunic, such a tunic. So it just assumed that ketonet means tunic. Such a tunic was a mark of high social standing, as is known from Assyrian inscriptions. Egyptian tomb paintings show Semitic men and women wearing multicolored tunics draped over one shoulder and reaching below the knees. Syrian ambassadors dressed in elaborately designed long robes wrapped around the body and over the shoulders. Others interpret it as a sleeved garment, a tunic reaching the wrists and the ankles. So we don't know for sure. And pasim, again, in modern Hebrew is striped, but translated as ornamented. It's sometimes translated as many colors. Don't know. All we know is he's given a special garment that none of his other brothers get. 4. Vayiru echav ki oto ahav avihem mikol echav vayisneu oto velo yachlu dabro le shalom. So his brothers saw that their father loved him from all the brothers, or better than all the brothers, and they hated him. And they were not able to speak well of him. It says here, could not speak a friendly word to him. They could not speak well of him. Okay, so he's tattletaling about his brothers from Zilpah and Bilhah, and he now has this garment that is more special than anybody else from them, so they hated him. It's not that they were just jealous of him, they hated him. Okay, 5. Vayachalom. So we should also understand that this story serves to foreshadow what will come later in the Bible in terms of Israelite history. And the idea that throughout the Bible, it's pretty clear that it's very hard to keep the tribes of Israel united. And most of the time you read about how tribes are set one against the other, or a few against the other. The book of Joshua and Judges details that as they settle the land, the disagreements that they have with one another. And later, when the kingdom of Israel splits into two parts, we also have ideas. So here, so where does the hatred of these brothers, the disunity, come from? It could come from this story that sets the stage. Yes, Saul.
Is there any evidence that Rachel and Leah's sons had a higher status than the handmaiden sons?
So usually that's the case, that that the children of wives would be held in a higher status than children of concubines or servants. I don't know according to Jewish, well, according to Jewish law, you're not allowed to marry a slave. A Jewish slave can marry another Jewish slave, but a Jewish man is not allowed to marry a slave. So by the time of the Mishnah and the Talmud, Jewish men can marry women who are available to them, and free women are the case. So So in the Bible, in the Torah, is there a different status here? Well, for all intents and purposes, no. Rachel, Leah, Bilhah, and Zilpah are the 4 mothers of the 12 tribes of Israel, and each of the tribes is equal in status. Now, it just so happens that Judah represents the southern kingdom, and Judah is a son of Leah, and Joseph represents the northern kingdom. Actually, Ephraim represents the northern kingdom, and Ephraim is Joseph's son, and Joseph is Rachel's son. So, but the other tribes have equal portions in the land of Israel, and none less, because Bilhah or Zilpah could have been their mother. Okay, 5. Vayachalom Yosef chalom. Vayaged le'echa. Now, I also want to just introduce this by saying Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob each had personal revelations of God and conversations with God. Joseph does not. Okay, we're told later in this portion and later in other portions that Joseph feels connected to God and is grateful to God for what happens in his life, but there's no instance of God talking to Joseph, which could answer the question, why isn't Joseph included among with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob? So why isn't it Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph? And the answer is because Joseph did not have direct conversation, but he has dreams and he has the ability to interpret dreams. So that makes him on a higher status than the average person, but lower than Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So, Vayachalom Yosef Chalom, Vayaged le'echav, Vayosifu od sno oto. So Joseph dreamt a dream, and he told it to his brothers, and they further hated him. Okay, so they hated him for tattletaling. They hated him for the special garment, and now they're hating him for his dream. 6. Vayomer alehem, shim'una hachalom hazeh asher chalamti. And he said to them, listen, I beg you, listen. So the na in modern Hebrew is please, but in Torah it's like a prayer. Please listen. I beg you, listen. This dream that I dreamt. 7. Vehine anachnu me'almim alumim betoch hasadeh. Vehine kama alumati vegam nitzava. Vehine tesubena alumotechem vatishtachavena la'alumati. And so this is the dream. We're bundling sheaves in the field, and my sheaf gets up and stands, and all of your sheaves are kind of laying low and bowing down to my sheaf. They said, Vayomru, verse 8, Lo, Vayomru lo echav, Hamaloch timloch aleinu, Imashol timshol banu, Vayosifu od sno oto al chalomotav ve'al divarav. And they said, his brothers said to him, are you going to rule over us? Right? It doesn't take a dream expert to understand the meaning of the dream. Your sheaves are bowing down to my sheaf. I think that means we're all going to bow, the brothers are going to bow down to him. So the brothers said to him, are you going to rule over us? Are you going to be king over us? Are you going to rule over us? And they hated, and they added on to hating him for his dreams and for his words. 9. So Joseph doesn't get the message. He doesn't understand that tattletaling causes the brothers to hate him. Or maybe he does, he's aware and he doesn't care. He tattletales. He has this special coat. Like he doesn't tell dad, why are you giving me this coat? It's just going to add to the hatred of my brothers or the jealousy of my brothers to me. There's no comment that the Torah has about that. And we also don't know if he wears it all the time. Is that why they hate him? Because he's like flaunting his favoritism by wearing this garment all the time. And then he tells his dreams. They argue. They react to it. His brothers do, and say, "Are you going to rule over us?" And now he doesn't get the message, and he's going to share another dream with them. 9. Vayachalom od chalom acher, vayasaper oto le'echav, vayomer hine chalamti chalom od, v'hine hashemesh v'hayareach v'achad asar kochavim mishtachavim li. So he has another dream, and he tells it to his brother. He doesn't say, this time he doesn't say, please listen to this dream. It says here, he tells it to his brothers and says, here, I dreamt another dream, and the sun and the moon and 11 stars are bowing down to me. So he's not a star, he's him in the dream. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars are bowing down to him. 10. Vayasaper el aviv ve'el echav, vayigar bo aviv, vayomer lo, Ma hachalom hazeh asher chalamta, havo navo ani ve'imcha ve'achecha lehishtachavot lecha artza. So it was, he told it to his father and to his brothers, and his father, it says here, berated him and said to him, what is this dream that you dreamt? Am I and your mother, his mother's dead, am I and your mother and your brothers going to bow down to you? prostrate ourselves before you on the earth? 11. Vayekanu echav va'aviv shamar et hadavar. So his brothers were jealous of him. They didn't say, it doesn't say now that they hate him. Maybe now they see that his father is scolding, that their father is scolding him. So maybe they don't have to hate him now. They can just be jealous of him. And his father held on to the matter, like kept it in mind, as it says here, but held on to the matter, like he remembered that what this dream was. Okay, so there's some elements of the story missing, right? That in terms of, we're only told that he tattletales about Bilhah and Zilpah's sons, those half brothers. We were told about the coat that he has, but there's no like backstory. Like what was going on? Was it a festive occasion that prompted Joseph to get this coat? Was it Joseph's birthday? We don't know what the reason was or what the event was, if there was anything surrounding that. So there's a lot left to our imagination here. And what does it mean that Jacob held on to it? How long did he hold on to it for? Or does this also mean that we're supposed to hold on to it too and remember what will happen in Egypt when his father and his brothers reunite with him in Egypt, and do bow down to him because he's second in command in Egypt. So anyway, all of these, we're supposed to shamar et hadavar, we're supposed to keep this in mind. So now the second aliyah, and it's about this and the third that I'll share from the legends of the Jews. We still have time. Vayelchu echav lirot et son avihem bishchem, and his brothers went to shepherd their father's flock in Shechem. Okay, so we're supposed to remember Shechem. This is where Dinah, the prince of Shechem, raped Dinah, and Jacob's sons, well, Shimon and Levi, negotiated with the prince of Shechem. If you want to intermarry with our women, you're going to have to be circumcised, and they do. And Shimon and Levi then kill all the men of Shechem. So the fact that they're going to Shechem was supposed to raise red flags. Okay, why go there where you're not exactly in favor with the population because of what you did? So what's that about? 13. Vayomer Yisrael el Yosef, halo achecha roim b'Shechem. I'm just looking at something. So he's called Israel again. I was just seeing if he was called Jacob at all with the telling of the dream, and he's not named at all. Just his father. Okay. So Vayomer Yisrael el Yosef, halo achecha roim b'Shechem, lecha ve'eshlachacha aleihem, vayomer lo hineni. So Israel says to Joseph, aren't your brothers shepherding in Shechem? Go, and I'll send you to them. And he says, ready to go. Hineni, here I am. I'm ready to do. I'm ready to follow and do this. 14. Vayomer lo lech na re'ei et shalom achecha ve'et shalom hatzon va'ashiveni davar va'yishlachehu me'emek Chavron va'yavo Shechema. And he says to him, go, lech na, I beg you to go, I order you to go, look for, see if your brothers are doing okay, and the sheep are doing okay, and bring back word. And he sends him from the Chevron Valley, and he came to Shechem. 15. Vayimtsaehu ish, v'hine to'eh bas sadeh, vayish alehu ha'ish lemor, ma tevakesh. Okay, so the pronouns, it's a little bit vague who's doing what. So a man found him. Who is this man? Anonymous man. So a man found him. The him here we know is Joseph. A man found him. That is, a man found Joseph. And he was wandering in the field. Who was? Was the man wandering in the field? Was Joseph wandering in the field? And the man asked him. Okay, so the man asked Joseph, Lamor, saying, Ma tevakesh, what are you looking for? What are you seeking? So it's possible it's Joseph who's wandering in a field. What's he doing wandering in the field? If we know that his brothers and sheep are in Shechem, what's he doing wandering? Is he still looking for them? But he came to Shechem already, the last word of verse 14. So what's going on here? 16, Vayomer et achai anochi mevakesh, hagida nali efo heim roim. So he says, I'm looking for my brothers. Tell me, please, I beg you, please, tell me where they're shepherding. So how does Joseph know that this guy would know where his brothers are? Okay, so who is this guy? 17. Vayomer ha'ish nas'u mizeh ki shamati omrim nelcha dotayana vayelech Yosef achar echa vayimtzaem bedotan. So the man says, they went from here, they traveled from here, because I heard them saying, let's go to Dotan. And Joseph went after his brothers and found them in Dotan. We have no idea where Dotan is, how far it is of Shechem. We have no idea who this man is, how this man knew that those guys were Joseph's brothers. Know nothing about that. And Joseph doesn't say, thanks for telling me. Or they don't sit down for a meal together. There's none of the hospitality kind of thing that goes on with other greetings of strangers, random people. He gets the information and goes on his way. So I want to read a little bit more. We're not going to get through the third aliyah, but enough here. Let's see, I think we can finish the second aliyah, and then we'll look at the midrash. Vayiru oto merachok, uveterem yikrav alehem, vayitnaklu oto lahamito. They saw him from a distance. It's assumed that we know that these are the brothers. It doesn't say the brothers saw him from a distance. They saw him from a distance, and before he got close to them, they schemed about him to kill him. 19, Vayomru ish el achiv, hine ba'al hachalamot halazeba. The brothers said to one another, here's the dreamer, the man of the dreams, coming. Or this dreamer is coming. So this is the scheming. Ve'ata lechu v'nahargehu v'nashlichehu be'achad haborot v'amarnu chaya ra'a achalatu v'nir'eh ma yihiyu chalomotav. So now let's go and kill him and throw him into one of these pits, and we'll say, presumably to their father, we'll say a wild animal ate him, and then let's see what will happen to his dreams. Like his dreams, everybody's going to bow down to him. How do you bow down to a corpse? So we'll make sure that the dream doesn't come true. 21, Vayishma Reuven, Vayatzilehu miyadam, Vayomer, Lo nakenu nafesh. And Reuben heard. Now, it's a weird way of saying this. What do you mean he heard? He was there. All the brothers were talking to each other. So why doesn't it just say, and Reuben said? What does it mean Reuben heard? Right? It's just awkward. What, wasn't he there when the brothers were talking? Did he hear about this second hand? What is this about? So Reuben heard, and he saved him from their hand. And he said, we're not going to kill anyone. 22, Vayomer alehem Reuven al tishbechu dam. Hashlicha oto el habor hazeh asher bamidbar v'yad al tishlechu vo lema'an hatzil oto miyadam lahashivo el aviv. And he says to them, that is, Reuven said to them, don't shed blood. Throw him into one of these pits in the desert, in the wilderness, and don't lay a hand on him, so that by way of that, he saved him from their hand in order to return him to their father. Okay, so this part of the story highlights Reuven. I think we have time to read on a little bit more into the third aliyah here, verse 23. Vayehi ka'asher ba Yosef el Echav. So they were doing all the scheming and planning to kill him, and Reuven convinces them not to kill him, just to throw him into one of the pits. So now, Vayehi ka'asher ba Yosef el Echav, vayavshitu et Yosef et kutanto et ketoned hapasim asher alav. So when Joseph drew closer to his brothers, they stripped Joseph of his tunic, the striped tunic, or the ornamented tunic that was on him. 24, Vayikachuhu, Vayashlichu oto habora, Vahabor reik ein bo mayim. They took him and threw him into the pit, and the pit is empty, there's no water in it. VaYeishvu le'echol lechem, Vayisu einehem, Vayiru v'hine orchat Ishmaelim ba'a mi-Gil'ad, u'gemalehem nosim nechot utzri valot, holchim lehorid Mitzrayma. They sat to eat bread, right? They're such nice brothers. They throw him into a pit, strip him, and then they eat. They lift up their eyes and they see, here comes an Ishmaelite caravan from Gilead, so from the north. It's coming from the north country, this Ishmaelite caravan, and the camels are carrying, which translated here, gum, balm, and ladanum. I have no idea what these things are. Okay, it doesn't matter. Some stuff that they're bringing from the north country in their caravan, something that people would want to buy, and they're going to bring it down to Egypt. 26. Now it's not Reuven. Vayomer Yehuda el Echav. Ma betza ki naharog et achinu v'chisinu et damo. Judah says to his brothers, what good will it do if we kill our brother and cover up his blood? 27. So they already agreed not to kill him. They just keep him in the pit. So why does Judah have to say, what benefit is there to killing him? They already decided not to kill him. Okay, so question here, is it Reuben, is it Judah who's going to save Joseph? 27, Lechu venim karenu la Yishmaelim, v'yadenu al tehivo, ki achinu v'sarenuhu, v'yishmeu echav. Let's go and sell him to the Ishmaelites, and our hand won't be upon him, because he's our brother and our flesh. And his brothers listen to him. And one more verse, Vaya'avru anashim midyanim socharim vayimshechu vaya'alu et Yosef min habor Vayimkeru et Yosef LaYishmaelim be'esrim kasef, Vayaviu et Yosef Mitzrayim. So Midianite men, not Ishmaelites, Midianite merchants were passing by, and they pulled and brought out Joseph from the pit, and they sold Joseph to the Ishmaelites. Who did? Did the Midianites sell him to the Ishmaelites? Did the brothers sell him to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver? And they brought Joseph to Egypt. Okay, so there's a lot that is ambiguous in the story. Why does Reuben have a role? Why does Judah have a role? Isn't it clear that they're not going to kill him? Why does Judah say, let's not kill him? Was it Ishmaelites that they were selling him to? Was it Midianites that they were selling him to? It's unclear. And who's this anonymous man? Okay, so I want to read in Legends of the Jews from the part in which Joseph goes to Shechem. Joseph reached Shechem, according to the Midrash, where he expected to find his brothers. Shechem was always a place of ill omen for Jacob and his seed. There Dinah was dishonored. There the 10 tribes of Israel rebelled against the house of David, while Rechavam ruled in Jerusalem, and there Jeroboam was installed as king. So we're supposed to remember later Israelite history in the book of Kings, the beginning of the book of Kings, how after Solomon died, these are the 2 sons who claimed kingship, Rechavam in Jerusalem to continue the dynasty there, but Yeravam, wanted to be king himself. So he set up shop in Shechem and created the northern kingdom of Israel. So Yeravam split the kingdom and created the northern kingdom of Israel in Shechem, Shechem as the capital city. So we're supposed to not only remember what happened to Dinah in Shechem, we're supposed to remember from the story what is in the future supposed to happen in Shechem. Okay, and that's one classic element of Midrash, is that the Midrash reads the story in the Torah as telling history and foretelling future, and all of it being a part of a big story. So it goes on, not finding his brothers and the herd in Shechem, Joseph continued his journey in the direction of the next pasturing place, not far from Shechem, but he lost his way in the wilderness. Okay, so that's the To'eh Basadeh, wandering, being lost in the wilderness. Now it says, Gabriel in human shape appears before him. So the man is not anonymous in the Midrash. The man is an angel, and not just any angel, it's the angel Gabriel. So Gabriel in human shape appeared before him and asked him, saying, what seekest thou? Okay, that's from the Torah. What are you looking for? And he answered, I seek my brothers. Okay, that's from the Torah too. Whereto the angel replied, your brothers have given up the divine qualities of love and mercy. Okay, so now here's elements that are being added to the story and to the dialogue that we don't have in the Torah. So the Gabriel is saying to Joseph, your brothers no longer have love and mercy as part of their personality. Through a prophetic revelation, they learned that the Hivites were preparing to make war upon them, and therefore they departed hence to go to Dothan. So why did the brothers leave Shechem and go to Dothan? They were going to fight the Hivites, and they had to leave this place for other reasons too. I heard, while I was still standing behind the curtain that veils the divine throne, that this day the Egyptian bondage would begin, and you would be the first to be subjected to it. So Gabriel says, I heard up in heaven, God says Egyptian bondage, that is, the children of Jacob, the children of Israel, are going to begin slavery starting today. So in other words, the angel is telling Joseph, be forewarned, you're going to be the first of the Israelite slaves. Then Gabriel led Joseph to Dothan. Okay, so in other words, the Midrash has this story as writes the story in a way that the angel is preparing Joseph for what's about to happen, like he's going to be sold into slavery, he's going to become a slave, and that this is the beginning of God's vision for God's plan for the Israelite people. So Joseph is becoming part of his relationship to God is such that he's accepting this burden on him. That he understands that what's about to happen to him is part of God's bigger plan. As opposed to the Torah, where it doesn't seem that way. But the Midrash is making Joseph into a better person than he might seem. And according to the rabbis, he's Joseph the Tzaddik, the righteous one. So this is an element that makes him righteous. Not only that he can interpret dreams, but that he can accept upon himself the bondage because it's part of God's bigger plan for what will happen to the people of Israel. So now the story continues in the Midrash. When his brothers saw him from afar off, they conspired against him to slay him. Right? So that's in the Torah. Their first plan, okay, this is not in the Torah. Their first plan was to set dogs on him. Shepherds have dogs. We don't know about the dogs here, but it's just assumed that it's assumed that they have dogs. Shimon then spoke to Levi. Okay, so now some of these brothers are named in the Midrash. Who's doing the talking? So Shimon and Levi are sons 2 and 3 in order, because Reuben and Judah are the only 2 named brothers talking in this story. But the Midrash names Shimon and Levi, and there'll be another one, Zebulun, who's going to be named too. Shimon then spoke to Levi, "Behold, the master of dreams comes with a new dream. He whose descendant Jeroboam will introduce the worship of Baal." Whoa. So now, not only does do Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob know about the future of Israel and everything that's going to happen, but also the brothers know this too. So they know about Jeroboam going to be a future king, going to set up a capital in Shechem, and is going to lead the people to worship Baal there. Okay, so look at Joseph coming, who's Joseph's descendant, so from the tribe of Ephraim or Menashe. Well, no, how could that be? Jeroboam is from Solomon, and Solomon is from David, and David is a Judahite. So it's whose descendant Jeroboam. So I'm not sure how the Midrash says that Jeroboam comes from Joseph. I'm not sure. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him, that we may see what will become of his dreams. So it's not just this dream of worshiping Joseph, but the dream of worshiping Jeroboam too, and this pagan worship of Baal, what's going to happen to those dreams too. But God spoke, "Ye say, we shall see what will become of his dreams, and I say likewise, we shall see, and the future shall show whose word will stand, yours or mine." Shimon and God set about slaying Joseph, and he fell upon his face and entreated them, "Have mercy with me, my brothers. Have pity on the heart of my father Jacob. Lay not your hands upon me to spill innocent blood, for I have done no evil unto you. But if I have done evil unto you, then chastise me with a chastisement. But your hands lay not upon me for the sake of our father Jacob." These words touched Zebulun, and he began to lament and weep. And the wailing of Joseph rose up together with his brothers. And when Shimon and God raised their hands against him to execute their evil design, Joseph took refuge behind Zebulun and supplicated his other brothers to have mercy upon him. Then Reuben arose, and he said, "Brothers, let's not slay him, but let's cast him into one of the dry pits which our fathers dug without finding water." Now, these could be one of the pits from the story of Isaac. the wells, digging the wells, and the Philistines filling them up and digging more wells. Maybe that's the wells we're talking about. That was due to the providence of God. God had hindered the water rising in them in order that Joseph's rescue might be accomplished, and the pits remained dry until Joseph was safe in the hands of the Ishmaelites. So don't think that they just happened to be dry. God made them dry so that Joseph wouldn't drown in a pit. So it's all part of God's plan. So we shouldn't think when reading the story from the Torah that there's just happened to be a pit there and it happened to be dry. It's all part of God's plan that they're all there and that this is what's supposed to happen according to God's plan. Just a little bit more in this midrash. Reuben had several reasons for interceding on behalf of Joseph. He knew that as the oldest of the brothers, of the brothers, he would be held responsible by their father if any evil befell them. Besides, Reuben was grateful to Joseph for having reckoned him among the 11 sons of Jacob in narrating his dream of the sun, moon, and stars. Since his disrespectful bearing toward Jacob, there's this cryptic mention that Reuben wanted to sleep with Bilhah, and that's all the Torah says, and then it goes on, that's last week's portion, and goes on with the story. So maybe Reuben could have been thrown out of the family at that point. So because he's part of the dream, 11 sheaves, 11 stars bowing down to Joseph, so he's back in the family. Reuben was grateful to Joseph for having reckoned him among the 11 sons of Jacob and narrating his dream of sun, moon, and stars. Since his disrespectful bearing toward Jacob, he had not thought himself worthy of being considered one of his sons. First, Reuben, so in other words, the Midrash says Reuben is nice here to Joseph because Joseph was nice to him and included him in the counting of the brothers, when, according to what we learned in the Torah, he should have been kicked out of the family. First, Reuben tried to restrain his brothers from their purpose, and he addressed them in words full of love and compassion. But when he saw that neither words nor entreaties would change their intention, he begged them, saying, "My brothers, at least hearken unto me in respect of this, that ye not be so wicked and cruel as to slay him. Lay no hand upon your brother, shed no blood, cast him into this pit that's in the wilderness, and let him perish thus." Let him just die of hunger and thirst. Then Reuben went away from his brothers, and he hid in the mountains so that he might be able to hasten back in a favorable moment and draw Joseph forth from the pit and restore him to his father. Like, according to this story, Reuben was intending to save Joseph and not just leave him lying in the pit when the brothers left. He hoped his reward would be pardoned for the transgression he had committed against Jacob. His good intention was frustrated, yet Reuben was rewarded by God, for God gives a recompense not only for good deeds, but for good intentions as well. As he was the first of the brethren of Joseph to make an attempt to save him, so the city of Bezer in the tribe of Reuben was the first of the cities of refuge appointed to safeguard the life of the innocent that seek help. So how does Reuben get rewarded for wanting to save Joseph, for the intention of wanting to save Joseph? His city and his tribal territory, later in the Torah, is listed first as a city of refuge, where someone who accidentally kills someone can run to escape revenge. And furthermore, God spoke to Reuben, saying, "And you were the first to endeavor to restore a child unto his father. So Hosea, one of your descendants, shall be the first to endeavor to lead Israel back to his heavenly father." So Hosea, supposedly from the tribe of Reuben, is the first of all the prophets. Okay, and the order in the Bible, it's Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and then the 12 minor prophets. But in chronology, it's really Hosea. Hosea lived before Isaiah did. Okay, but the three big prophets are placed first in the Bible, and then the 12 smaller books. And in the 12 smaller books, Hosea is the first one, and Hosea, in order and chronology, is the first of all prophets. Okay, so let's stop here. I just wanted to give you a taste of what Midrash is. Some of it is far-fetched. Some of it is, the intent is to fill in the gaps. And all of it is with the intent to bring the entire story of the biblical Jewish people together so that we make sure to remember that it's all one big story, that nothing is happening in the Torah in a vacuum, that it's all part of the bigger picture. And that's in a way, it's a beautiful lesson that the rabbis are teaching us, that the entire Bible occurs at almost at one time to emphasize the religious message that we're supposed to learn. Okay? Any questions or comments before we conclude for today? All right. Have a good rest of the day, everybody. I want to say that the next 2 weeks, because it's winter break, we won't have, and it happens to be federal holidays too, Christmas and New Year's. So we won't be meeting the next 2 Wednesdays. So hopefully the Wednesday after that would be January 8th, will be the next time we have Torah study. So take care, everybody. Have a happy Hanukkah and a happy New Year as well.